This is our agenda for tonight's session on Vote Builder 102, which is all about building phone banks. I'll provide a quick introduction and overview about phone banking, walk through quickly how to create a list in VoteBuilder to specifically be used for phone banking. Then I'll walk through how to turn that list into a virtual phone bank in VoteBuilder and wrap up with some additional resources and share information along the way. When it comes to phone banking in general, I actually want to ask this group if you could type in the chat what is a phone bank and why do we phone bank? Any thoughts? I don't see typing faces. Efficient way to connect with voters? Yes. Thank you, Michael. Reach out to voters, to prod likely Democratic voters to vote. Yeah, those are all right. A way of contacting, let's see, local people to ask their opinions, a targeted list, having a personal conversation, calling folks to volunteer, inform them of info, stump for a candidate. Not enough people use the word stump. Thank you. Um, but reaching volunteers, making connections, asking for something specific. Great. Where phones go to get money. Okay, here's what I have on this slide. So, phone banking is really like the second most efficient way to talk to people in a political space. Canvassing is and door knocking is always what we're going to prefer because it is the most effective way to have those conversations. After that is phone banking. And I think of three kind of ways that you're most likely to build and use a phone bank: identifying your supporters, persuading people, and then turning people out to vote. Those are the three most likely uses for a phone bank. What I don't have on that list, though, is really about volunteers. That was really voter heavy. So, yes, you can absolutely also be phone banking to talk to volunteers. Phone banking can be a more accessible option for some volunteers. So if people have a physical limitation that means they can't knock on doors or it's too uncomfortable for them, phone banking is a way for them to continue to fight and advocate for what they want to see politically. Also, with phone banking, you can build more highly targeted lists. When you're out door knocking, generally, it's more efficient to cast a little bit of a wider net so that you're not walking past too many doors. Now, you're never going to knock on every single door. Not everybody, every household, every door has registered voters in it. Not all those registered voters are Democrats or democratically leaning voters, but generally, you want to knock on a lot of doors. With phone banking, you can do some more targeted outreach to people. And I talked about some of these examples, I think, in Vote Builder 101 on creating lists. You might do a phone bank specifically to women talking about reproductive rights and abortion rights, for example. If you have a topic like that where your audience and the topic are really closely aligned. Then, of course, everything we're always doing is constantly helping us improve the quality of our data. So we're always getting better at our data so that we can better target and be the most efficient and effective uh, volunteers and staff as we can. So where do the phone numbers in Vote Builder come from? There are three main sources of where we get the phone numbers in Vote Builder. The biggest chunk of phone numbers come from work that the DNC does with vendors, where they look at large databases of people that have been collected from all kinds of sources, and they work to align people's phone numbers to their voter file. So this is a lot of work that is done by these vendors, by the DNC. It's done in DC. We don't really have to do a whole lot. We receive these phone numbers from those groups. The second biggest chunk is what comes from the Board of Elections. So when people register to vote and they put their phone number on the voter registration form, it goes into the database. The third chunk of phone numbers comes from you, from us, from volunteers, from all of us reaching out, talking to voters, talking to volunteers, talking to each other. We correct and update contact information and phone numbers as we go along. So that's where the phone numbers in VoteBuilder come from. It's not 100% perfect. You've probably phone banked before and someone says, well, this is the wrong number or it's disconnected. That's why it's so important that we record the information when we make those phone calls so we're constantly making the data quality better. So what we get from the Board of Elections and what we get from the DNC is very helpful, gives us a starting point, but then what we are able to do and update through phone banking efforts gets us the rest of the way there. So I just wanted to share that quick information on purposes for phone banks and where the phone numbers come from. Before I start going into how to create your call list, I'll pause to see what questions there are. Anybody? Okay, I'll keep moving. So creating your call list, if you are comfortable multi-screening or for people who maybe are watching this video later or looking at the slides later, this is the point at which you might want to log into VoteBuilder to follow along. I always like to share these fundamental tips for working with VoteBuilder. It requires patience, practice, and experimentation. VoteBuilder it is a very robust tool. It has a lot of capabilities. The more you work with it, the easier I have found it to be. It takes more than an hour to learn VoteBuilder's capabilities. The more I do any particular task, it does come easier and faster to me. Also, there's more than one way to get the result you're looking for in VoteBuilder. So when I do some screen walkthroughs, I might click on certain labels in an order that's different than how Harmon does the exact same task. If you're getting the end result you want and you follow a different path than what I'm going to show, that's fine. There is more than one way to do things in VoteBuilder. And then finally, you pretty much can't break VoteBuilder. So that's why I encourage you to experiment. A lot of what I've learned about how to use VoteBuilder came through trial and error. Now, I don't want you to struggle too much if you're trying to accomplish something and you can't figure it out. Reach out to me, reach out to Harmon, but also you can try some stuff. Yeah, Harmon's saying he's still learning VoteBuilder 10 years later. I've been using VoteBuilder like 6 years. So a lot of functionality that I haven't tapped into. Also, sometimes they change things. So just know that if it takes you a little while to get the hang of it, that's common. I'm going to pause here because I have a couple questions in the chat. Do we have the authority to alter phone numbers and other vote builder data? There are some, the answer is it depends. So you have a little bit more ability to edit things in the My Campaign half of VoteBuilder versus My Voters. As a reminder, My Voter it's the voter roll. People in North Carolina who are registered to vote, Democrats, Republicans, undecided, unaffiliated, all of it. My Campaign is where you have your volunteer database. So what I will say is you can always add an additional phone number, an additional email address. You can indicate in someone's record which phone number or email address is their preferred phone number or email. And then when you are phone banking, you can mark a phone number and say, like, this is the wrong number or this is disconnected. And when I show you how to pull a list, then those phone numbers won't come up the next time you pull that list. So if that's not quite what you were asking, we should have an opportunity for some live Q&A and demonstration when I get through the slides. Vote Builder does allow you to pull a list, to make phone calls, and to do texting. And Janice was also asking about changing data. So I'm going to make a note and show you what the options are when I do a live demo. Okay, building your contact list. So I demonstrated in VoteBuilder 101 some ways to pull your list in VoteBuilder. I'm going to demonstrate now specifically some nuances for pulling a list that you're going to use for a phone bank. So the first thing is to know, what is your strategy? What are you trying to accomplish? And should you be talking to voters or should you be talking to volunteers? I know we have a lot of candidates who recently got access to Vote Builder, so I'm going to focus tonight on building a phone bank to talk to voters, which you'll build that phone bank in My Voters, in My V. This is what it looks like when you're inside Vote Builder. Like I said, I'm going to focus on My Voters, and we're going to build a phone bank to have some persuasion conversations with potential voters. On this screenshot, the arrow on the left is pointing at the button for create a list. When you create a list, this is what the screen looks like. And what I'm going to walk through is creating a list for a candidate in the city of Burlington. And the first thing I have done here, once I narrowed it to Burlington, is I hit the blue button on the right-hand side that says refresh my results. I do this regularly so I can get a count of how many people I'm looking at, and it helps me follow the logic of the list I'm trying to build. So we've got 34,000 people, registered voters here in this city. Now we're going to talk about calling voters. What I'm sharing here is how we think about targeting different types of voters, and we call these groupings a universe. And I know that's a little small on the screen, but you'll have this slide when I email it out. What we have across the top from red to blue is support score. This is an estimate of how likely we think someone is to support Democratic candidates. So you can see it goes from zero, basically 0 to 10. 0 to 10 people, we think you have a less than 10% likelihood to support Democrats. And then on the far other side is 90 plus in the blue. So that means 90% likely to support Democrats. I'm in the 90 plus column, right? You're probably all in the 90 plus. So that's the support score. How much do you support Democrats? Then on the vertical, we've got turnout scores. This also goes from a score of 0 to 10 likelihood. In this case, we're talking about how likely are you to actually go to a polling location and cast a ballot. So at the top of this is 0 to 10% likelihood you're actually going to vote. At the bottom is 90+% likelihood that you're going to vote. Thomas is not able to see my slides. Is anybody else having that problem? There has been an update to Zoom. Yeah, I think other people are okay, Thomas. There's an update to Zoom that's somewhat recent, and you might have tabs in the upper left-hand corner. You might have to toggle between them. Okay, so support across the top, turnout on the vertical axis. Then we have these three boxes. In the far right on the bottom, people who have a 70% or higher likelihood to vote for Democrats and a 70% or higher likelihood to actually cast a ballot. That's who we refer to as our base voters. And there are a couple notes in here about how to think of these different universes, what kind of tactics to use, when, things like that. In this case, what we're suggesting is base voters, you might target them early, particularly when it comes to municipal elections. They tend to have much lower voter turnout. So if you just talk to the base and say, don't forget there are municipals you need to vote, they're likely to turn out. Call, knock, email. Your goal with these base voters is to ask them more than just their vote. Will they put a yard sign for your campaign in their yard? Will they volunteer? Will they donate? Above the base, what we have here are people who still have a very high likelihood to support Democrats, 70 to 100% likelihood to support Democrats. Their likelihood to turn out and cast a ballot is lower. So we call this a mobilization universe. We need to mobilize these people to the polls. We need them to get out the vote. This would be people you would still target early and you would target during your GOTV, get out the vote efforts, people to knock or call. And the goal here is to secure their commitment to vote for you in the fall. To the left of the base, these are people who have a little lower likelihood to support Democrats. So here we have a 40% to 70% likelihood to support Democrats, but they're very likely to get to the polls and cast a ballot. So these are people we consider our persuasion universe. They're going to vote. You need to convince them to vote for you. So these are people you would contact if you don't have enough people in the base, in your mobilization universes to hit your win number or your vote goal for your election. For a lot of us in North Carolina, you're in red or purple areas. The margins of victory are very narrow for Democrats versus Republicans. So for most parts of this state, you actually do need to tap into this universe of voters and have those conversations. The goal with the persuasion universe is to assess their support. Do they support you? Do they support your opponent? If they support you, then they will go into this mobilization universe and you'll want to talk to them and help them get to the polls. So we will use this jargon, target universes. This is kind of what we're talking about. So going back to creating a list to build a phone bank. In this example here, there were 30,000 voters in this town. I used the home district to narrow to the town. I'm now using the criteria called targets. For Democrats running for office for municipal races this year, when we give you VoteBuilder, we give you these target universes. In this example, I selected the persuasion universe. And when I hit preview my results, I end up with 1,600 people. Now, because we're going to make a phone bank, I want to exclude everyone who has said, do not call me. So the category for that when you're building your list is called suppressions. So when I click on suppressions and it expands the menu, what you can see here, I've drawn a red box where it says exclude, do not call. I want to exclude people who have said, don't call me. In this particular case, when I preview my results, it didn't actually change the number, but sometimes it will. So I made a list of people in the town I'm interested in, persuasion universe. I pulled off people who have said do not call. The next step, I recommend you then take anybody off who has been contacted recently to be more efficient and to improve the quality of your conversations. If you are someone who's running for office this fall, um, people might not have been contacted yet. If, however, you're a county party leader and you're going to be using these techniques all through 2026, then that might be important for you. So, what you do in this case is go to Canvas status. Now, I generally use the word canvas to mean knocking on somebody's door and talking to them. In VoteBuilder, canvas kind of means anytime you interact with someone and score or collect some data in that conversation. So I'm going to go to Canvas status and then select exclude people. And in this case, because it's a phone bank, I'm going to exclude people that we've canvassed, so people we've talked to recently, and excluding people who are deceased, phone numbers that are disconnected, anybody who has previously been marked hostile, people who have moved, phone that's out of order, people who have refused or refused contact, anyone who is threatened, and any wrong numbers. Those are the categories I'm going to exclude. And then Kathy's question here, what is reasonable in terms of recently? You can set your date range. So in this case, I took a screenshot when I said exclude anybody who I've already talked to this year. But this, you can set the criteria yourself. Um, in the sample I've been walking through, nobody had been canvassed recently, so this didn't have an impact. But if you are phone banking in August and then you want to call people again in October, maybe you don't need to talk to the people you talked to in August. Depends a little bit on your strategy, depends on what you're talking about, depends a little bit on your voter universe and what point you are in the election. So, for example, if it's October 20th, I'm maybe not going to have that Canvas date range because I want to talk to people, even if I've already talked to them, because now they can cast a ballot. So that's something that we can help you think through based on what you're trying to accomplish. But that's where you would select whatever is the date range that makes sense for what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, let me scroll back up because I think there's some questions here I have missed. Mm. Uh, Alamance County MAGA husbands were looking over their wives' shoulders or grabbing their ballots and filling them out for them. Ugh. Might this be a good reason to phone bank to the wife's cell phone as opposed to the primary home phone? Yeah, yeah, that makes sense to me.
or knocking on door.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a decent use of phone banking to target a particular audience. Yeah. Okay. Michael, do you have a question about targets?
Yeah, like I'm looking at Vote Builder now, and so when I expand out targets, I don't see like that um
That exact list.
the right,
Hmm.
right, the base and yeah, the persuasion, mobilization, and base. And I thought I heard you say if you're a candidate, you're going to see these groupings.
Are you
Was that
running
true?
for?
Did I mishear you?
No, those are the lists, the target universes we're sharing with candidates. Are you running for office?
No.
Are you with a county party or?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So, I'm not sure. Harmon, what are the target universes? Do we have target universes we've shared with the counties or are we recommending they use scores?
Yeah, we haven't shared them with the counties. I'm actually rolling them out to the counties tonight at the county chair call, and so those should be added by then. Which
Michael,
campaign is this?
you're 1 hour ahead of schedule here. Um, the campaign I'm using for the samples.
No. Sorry, the campaign the gentleman is a part of.
Oh no, he's
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
county.
I'm not part of a campaign. I'm part of Franklin County, and I'm just
Oh,
on the
I
board.
see. I see.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why you're asking about the county. Okay, yeah. We've rolled it out to the candidates. Candidates get that, and a bunch of other things. We're going to be going over what candidates get as well as the targets, and we're going to be handing those off to the counties tonight.
Okay.
Secret preview, Michael.
I mean,
Okay.
I think that that's anyway. I mean, I think that that logic there is great. It- so that's why I'm just very interested in it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
coming soon. Okay. So going back to making our contact list, we are talking to voters, so we're in my V. We pulled the criteria we wanted, the city. We pulled a persuasion universe. We took off people who said, "Don't call me anymore," and then we narrowed for people who had maybe been canvassed previously. The last step on that is to hit that big green button that says "Run Search," and then we ran our search and we made our list. So in this scenario, and I know it's a little small, but there were 1,611 people on the list. Somehow that's almost 4,000 phone numbers, but it's 1,500 preferred phone numbers, best phone numbers. And so that would be the list that we make for our phone bank. I got a red arrow here pointing to the button to save list as. So you don't have to recreate it. You want to save that list. There are two ways. You can save the list so it won't change at all. It will be static. Or you can save it as a search and it would update and refresh when you hit that button. I pretty much save everything as a list. I suppose maybe if you're a county party and every quarter you phone bank to people who are newly registered in your county or something. Maybe then you would save it as a search. Generally, I save everything as a list. I just find it a little quicker and easier. What I recommend, I don't care if you save it as a list or a search, but I do recommend that you develop a naming convention. So this is a standard way of naming everything in your vote builder so that it makes sense to you a year from now. So it makes sense to anybody else who's working in your version of vote builder with you now. A naming convention I find very helpful. What I always use in vote builder is I put year, geography, purpose. So in this example, I named this 2025. That's my year. Burlington was the city. Persuasion. That was my purpose. And then you can add more information in the description field, particularly if you use acronyms or if there was something unusual about the list you pulled. I just wrote persuasion phone bank list created for training. So I do recommend a naming convention, but otherwise, now you have your call list. So that's how to create a list in VoteBuilder to use for a phone bank. Next, I'm going to walk through how to turn that list into a VPB, a virtual phone bank. I'm going to pause real quick. Any questions? Okay, let's keep rolling. Do you have to use dashes in the name? Nope. That's just me being weird. Use dashes, don't use dashes. Helps me keep track of it. Oh, oh, okay, here we go. Virtual phone bank. So we say VPB. Uh, and if you ever I don't know, if you phone banked 10 years ago, you might have been in a room with 10 other people and you had a physical phone and you had pieces of paper and you had a pen and a clipboard and you would dial the number and you would mark like, no, they're a Republican and whatever. The virtual phone bank is electronic. Ever since COVID, really, people have done this more and more from their own homes instead of needing to be in the same physical location. You can do it both, but it is paperless. So you don't have to print out all the information for volunteers to make these calls. Callers will see the information on their screen. And the way I'm going to demonstrate this tonight, people will generally dial the phone number from their own phone. There are other ways to do it, but if people dial the phone number from their own phone with their own finger, basically the method I'm going to show you is free. When it gets closer to election day, there are some other techniques we use sometimes. And those techniques just have a cost. So this is the free way to set up a phone bank. Nobody has to do data entry. It's all saved as you go along. So on the previous screenshot, we got to the ta-da screen and we saved our list. And along the top, remember there were 1,600 people, 1,500 phone numbers. There is a telephone icon, an old-fashioned telephone icon. That's not what phones look like anymore. But I've drawn a red box around that. When you click on that button, it brings up the screen here I have on the right. And the first option here is to set up virtual phone bank list. That's what you would select, and you would hit the next button. You can see there are some robocall options that pop up for me. I don't know if it pops up for everybody, but that would have a cost. And I mean, I'm not keen on robocalls personally, but I'm going to walk through how to set up the virtual phone bank. So I'm going to show you the screenshot next, where you will select the settings for your virtual phone bank. Name it. Again, I use my naming convention. We'll attach a script to it. You can have a start and end date, and then we will publish it. So this is what it looks like on the screen. Again, I named it 2025, August 12th. In this case, I used the month and day. Burlington Persuasion, that's the name of my VPB. And the description I put training example. Next, you will select a script. And I've got the arrow coming from the other direction here. For candidates, we have shared an ID script with candidates. It's good for any of the conversations that you're going to have with voters at this point. If you are a county party leader, you probably have other scripts listed from previous years, previous campaigns. For candidates, I think you just have this one for now. And then in the brackets is where you would put start date and end date. Those are both required fields. The start date is going to default to the day you set this up. End date, put kind of a reasonable date of when you think you'll be done with the list. In this case, I put the end of the month. Um, so just you have to set some end date. It's usually, in the next week, in the next month, something like that. On the right-hand side, you have some other options you can select. The only one I'm kind of want to make sure you include would be your designated contact. So if you have volunteers making calls for you, put a name, phone, and email for the person the volunteers can reach out to if they have questions. If you are making a phone bank that you yourself are going to call through, doesn't matter. That's not mandatory information. If you were a candidate, for example, you might be making a phone bank list that you are calling through on your own. So you don't have to do that, but I do recommend putting that information there when you have volunteers making calls. The last step on that form Towards the bottom here, publish to openvpb.com is what you will select, and then hit the next button. And then that creates the virtual phone bank. So what you can see on this screen on the left is the information that I entered, the name, the description. I selected my script. I put my start and end date. None of that has changed. What's new is what I have in the green brackets on the right-hand side. This is the URL for you or your volunteers to go to start making calls. What's really important here is there's a button that says copy under that URL because you don't want to have to type that, right? It's gibberish. It's just a string of numbers and letters. You can hit copy and then give people that URL and they can start making calls. I'm going to pause here real quick to see what's going on in the chat. Yes, you can narrow to your precinct. Kathy, if choose a phone bank option that has a cost associated with it, basically, how do you pay for it? And I'm not sure what that answer is. And I'm not sure what the cost is. 3 cents a call, 5 cents a call. If you're interested in doing something like that or pricing it out, I don't know, Kathy, if you are a county party leader or a candidate. If you are a county party leader and you're interested in perhaps doing that, you could go to Harmon's office hours or maybe ask your regional organizing director for help with that. I'm not sure because I've never had to pay the bill. Okay, Rita, can you find email addresses on VoteBuilder? Yes. I can show you that when we do a live screen share. Yeah, it's not Jim's point here, email addresses are not that well populated. Maybe 5 to 10% of registered voters seem to have them. That's true. And what I would say is I generally use emails in my campaigns, which is where volunteers are. I don't um I don't know that sending email to like the voter roll would be an effective tactic. But I do use email a lot with volunteers. Can you adjust the end date if you've already created a VPN or do you need to make a VPB or do you need to make a new one? Yes, you can extend the end date. Okay, so here is the URL for your open VPB. You're going to hit the copy button because that URL is gibberish. When you give that to someone or when you yourself go to the URL, this is what will come up. This is the Open VPB website. It will say start making calls. If someone has never made calls like this before, they might need to log in with their Action ID. I can't remember because it's been so long since I did my first phone bank. But then once you click that get started, you're right into the phone bank. This is what it looks like. On the left-hand side, and I've blurred out the personal information for this person. You can see their first name, but not their last. And you can see the start of their phone number. The default will have age and gender, which is not 100% accurate, but is pretty good. Above Erica's name, this is where it says if you have any questions about this phone bank, please contact Christy Boer. And it has my email and phone number. And then the big red button says I couldn't reach Erica. In case you don't talk to her, below that is the script. And then on the right-hand side, what I wanted to show you is what the drop-down menu looks like. So the question, can you commit to supporting our campaign this year? Select an option, and then you can see it says strong support, lean support, undecided, lean opposed, strong opposed, and not voting. What I always coach volunteers on is that which one of those options you select is kind of a judgment call. If someone says, no, I always vote Republican, I'm going to put strong oppose. If someone says, "Oh my gosh, I have seen your stuff all around. I think you're fantastic. I'm definitely voting for you." I'm going to put strong support. Most people are probably going to fall a little bit in the middle-ish area where they lean support or are undecided. So make a judgment call on where you feel someone falls on that spectrum. Okay. That was how to turn your list in VoteBuilder into a virtual phone bank. I've got just a couple more slides and then I can do a screen share. Oh, Jim says you might want to coach your phone bankers to start talking early. And what Jim's talking about is actually if you are using a dialer. So a dialer is one of those automated systems where the phone banker doesn't have to pick up their own phone and punch in the phone number. And it does have a cost associated with it. So, for example, right now at the state party, we are using a dialer to contact people whose voter registration is being targeted by Republicans. But the method I just walked through, this free method, it's not considered a dialer. And so it's more of a normal phone call. Yeah. Okay. So we have this shared drive of VoteBuilder related resources. And I'll include all of these links when I send the follow-up email tomorrow and with the slide and the recording. This VoteBuilder guide is like a user manual for VoteBuilder. It's good for searching by keywords. It hasn't been updated in a year and a half, 2 years, but it can still be helpful for you. And then this is the rest of the schedule of VoteBuilder trainings yet to come. So this is the second time this year I've gone through this series of trainings, and there won't be a third time this year. I'm running out of calendar. If you are a candidate running for office, I really encourage you to come to VoteBuilder 103, which will walk through how to turn a list into a canvas, a door knock, a walk list, so that you can go door to door to talk to voters. If you are a county party leader, I think managing volunteer data can be really helpful for you. And either audience might like to see the script features and how to potentially edit scripts in VoteBuilder to better suit your needs. So that is the list of what's coming up. I've got a question in the chat. Is there a free method of making calls without using my personal phone number? And what I would recommend if anybody wants that would be to create like a Google Voice, and then you would download the Google Voice app to your phone. You would still use your physical phone, but you would have another phone number. When I was a candidate, I just used my own phone number, but I know some volunteers prefer to have a little bit more anonymity in there, in which case setting up a Google Voice or paying to use a dialer. The other challenge with using a dialer, though, it does give you that anonymity, which is nice, but you really need at least half a dozen people making phone calls all at the same time for it to even work. And really, the sweet spot's probably more like 2 dozen people. Okay, just a couple more slides, and then I'll do a screen share. Harmon is having some VoteBuilder practice sessions. It looks like he has one coming up tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. So I dropped the link so that you can sign up for that if you want to have an opportunity to have Harmon look at what you're doing, give you feedback, tips, things like that. Harmon's normal office hours are Wednesdays from 2 to 3. My office hours are Fridays from 11 to 12. And we basically hang out in a Zoom. Come ask us questions. We'll help you, connect you with resources. If you are a candidate or a campaign manager, something like that, we're also doing office hours for candidates. And in this case, we've got multiple departments across the state party who are there to help you. So Sarah O'Brien, our organizing director, Harmon is there representing data, Kayla Jacobs, our digital director, Amanda Fitzpatrick, the communications director, and I am there as well. And again, we'll just answer questions, connect you with resources. And for candidates, the field organizing training session that's coming up Monday evening is very closely related to what we're going through in VoteBuilder on how to set up phone banks and how to set up canvases. So we will talk about how to plan your field organizing program so you can talk to as many voters as possible. With that, I'm going to stop recording